with. Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J. Live from the Den. Legacy Internet Radio, 804-402-2893 is the number to dial. If you want to be a part of the discussion tonight, I want to thank everybody that's listening to us on TuneIn. We appreciate that. If you hit us up on our new and improved website on legacyinternetradio.com at any point, we appreciate you doing that. I also want to say thank you to those folks that are listening to the sound of our voices right now on our replays on YouTube. We appreciate it. It's because of you guys listening to us every week. It's the reason why we continue to do this show. And if you're listening right now, tell somebody that you're listening to us so that they can listen to us as well. You know, have Steppin' with Marcus J. Unless you guys have anything else on this particular subject, I do want to move on. And one of the things that I want to move on to is something that is also been big in the news over the last week or so, and that has been the new relationship that the United States has developed with a neighbor to the south, and that neighbor would be Cuba. We know that we pretty much haven't had a relationship with them, certainly over the last 50 years, and there's, been talk of our relations being strained with our Cuban neighbors going back at least to, some say as far back as the first Roosevelt's administration in the early 1900s. Well, after 18 months of secret talks that produced a prisoner swap negotiated with the help of Pope Francis, concluded by a telephone call with President Barack Hussein Obama and President Raul Castro of Cuba, they broke the deal. An enduring stalemate between the two countries is now over, and it appears that we will have normal relations with Cuba. Now, this is a question I'm going to ask about that, Ruben. I'm going to come back to that question. I think you know what that question is. Allow me to set that question up appropriately. First thing I want to get into, I'm going to get Ruben first and then Diva. I want your opinion. What are your thoughts on the fact that we, in our lifetimes, we're all in our early 40s, we have no memory of there ever being any kind of relationship with Cuba, and now that's about to change. What are your thoughts?
I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, I feel as though it almost doesn't really mean much, except on a couple, I guess, personal levels for some people. Whether we become friends with Cuba or not, it's not going to, change the price in tea in my China. So I don't necessarily care. I think other people have a little bit more stake politically and personally than I do. As far as I know, Cuba was that place where if you wanted to get away from the United States and be free, you can go there and hang out and whatnot, and whatever you did. But then, you see Bad Boys too, and, depending on who you are, you might go get got. So it all depends, which is, I know it's a movie and everything, but realistically, to assume that has never happened is probably fooling yourself, because I'm pretty sure that has happened at least once, that, the wrong person crossed over and the United States government and whatever, non-government function went and took care of business over there, depending on who the person was and whatnot. So, I mean, I guess I feel like I should care, but I don't. Other people care more than me, such as probably what you're going to allude to later, so I won't spoil it. But yeah, I mean, the only thing I've heard is you can get cigars now without having to sneak them in. I don't smoke, so I don't care. And to me, that's really the only thing that
you would be the one to bring that up.
I mean, but that's all people have said. I mean, I don't care because I don't smoke.
Hakeem is listening to us. He says it goes back to the Monroe Doctrine. New policy has to pass the obviously all Republican Congress. Some relations will be normal, but it won't be fully normalized. Well, we'll just have to see how it all works out there, Hakeem. Diva, what you think?
I don't really have an opinion either. I don't know a whole lot about, the so-called Cold War or, the relations that have been broken. So you're going to educate me on that tonight. Well, I don't have much of an opinion.
I don't know how much I'm going to educate, but my thoughts, just as a person that kind of just studies, the world's history and relations and things of that sort. I mean, I don't know everything, but just my opinion has always been it's pretty damn petty for us to not be dealing with Cuba. I always found it petty. I always found it small. I always found it kind of like, well, we're not going to be your friend no more. Like, it's just small. When we know that we deal with Russia, when we had Cold War with them, and we know that our strongest, one of our strongest trade partners is China. Those are the two biggest communist countries in the world, and they're on the other side of the world, and they're big world powers, just like we are. But yet we turn our nose up at little ass Cuba that's about as big as Texas and is 90 miles away. I just always found that odd. It's just strange. And of course, you'll have many people who will see the president who probably on some level agrees with me on that, a lot more on a higher level, but normalizing, or at least seeking to normalize our relations with them is, the right thing to do. And then you're going to have some people who just are going to oppose anything that he does. If he says left, they will say right, who are going to have a problem with it. Someone please give me a good reason for why we should continue a 50-year stalemate with the country when they're a small little country 90 miles away, one, and two, I mean, the coldness that we've had with them hasn't really benefited anything. Like, what have we gotten out of it? I don't know. Man, if someone is smarter than me about world relations can call us at 804-402-2893, can tell us, then by all means let me know, and we can certainly build about it, because I'm very, very curious. Hakeem continues on some level, it would be good, but once jobs start flocking down there, Americans are going to be mad again. There's certainly some potentially some truth to that as well, but the truth of the matter is we send stuff, jobs and all kinds of stuff to so many places all over the world anyway. I'm not real sure that, it's going to be that big of a deal if they go to Cuba. But he does continue. He doesn't think that it's odd. How much of a superpower can you be? But if you can't control a small country in your backyard, you can't have a communist in your backyard. Then there's some truth to that. But I have a hard time believing that, the last 50 years of, turning our nose up to Cuba has been productive. What was the benefit? Like, how have we won? What's the win here? I don't see it. But what I do want to kind of talk about is some news that has been kind of, not really news, but just some analysis of what has gone on with regards to that. And that is the extradition of some political people there who are in exile. And one of those people is a woman by the name of Joanne Chesimard. Some folks don't know that name, but if you don't, you very possibly know her by her more common name, which is Assata Shakur. Assata Shakur was a woman who was convicted in 1977 of the murder of one, I believe it was at least one, maybe two, New Jersey state troopers after a traffic stop gone wrong. She's got a long rap sheet, a lot of stuff that she's accused of doing. She's a former Black Panther. She had a couple of mistrials prior to her 1977 conviction. She escaped from prison in 1979 and turned up in Cuba as a political person seeking political asylum in 1984. Governor Christie of New Jersey, and our Jersey folks, I want you to jump in here and tell me what you think, because I know of at least two of y'all that's listening right now that I know of personally. That doesn't count the people who normally listen to us and remain silent. But what are your thoughts on the governor of New Jersey that directly appealed to the president that now that we are attempting to have a more normalized relationship with Cuba, we need to get Assata Shakur extradited back here to the States to finish out her prison sentence? Diva, you up first on that one.
Okay, so my thoughts were, are they doing that, improving the relations with Cuba, so for that particular reason, so that they can get these political prisoners back and try them?
That's a very interesting point.
Yeah, that was my first thought when I read up on it. Again, I'm not really into a lot of historical things, political things, but that's what came to my mind when I read the story.
Big Root, what do you think?
I mean, she escaped from prison once. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I read it and I have mixed feelings. I mean, because basically you say in order for us to be friends, you need to do something for me. And it's like, I thought if we trying to be friends, we both should come at it evenly. I mean, that's normally what friends do. Usually friends come, 50-50, not 50-50 with a asterisk. So, I mean, it's 40 years, man. It's 40 years. I mean, so it's like, she's what, 70?
67.
Yeah. So she could serve another 28 years? I mean, I would be fair in saying that she can never come back to America. I just think extraditing a 67-year-old woman is kind of petty. Now, if it was some dude who escaped last week, I'm with you. I'm completely with you. And I understand she killed a police officer. Don't get it twisted. I understand. But, she has had to live with the fact that somebody might just come in and take her out one day, or somebody might come in and just physically remove her from Cuba.
Right. Just
because it's against the rules, that don't mean people ain't done it.
And I can tell you, in the interest of full disclosure, I have not 100% studied the case, so I don't know a whole lot about, her guilt. I mean, we obviously know she was convicted, but we also know just because you're convicted, particularly Black Panthers with the climate of the late 60s and early 70s, just because you're convicted doesn't mean that you're guilty. So I won't really get in. I mean, we know that she had a couple of mistrials and then she was eventually convicted. That to me tells me, I know one of the mistrials is because she was pregnant, but it just strikes me as a little bit curious that she has a couple of mistrials and then she's convicted a few years later. Hey, I don't know enough about her case to know that she's guilty or not guilty, but what I will say is Hakeem nailed it. He absolutely nailed it. He makes the point that I was about to make, so we'll end it with his point. And he's saying that she's safe. She has political asylum. You don't want to violate that trust. You'll never be trusted again internationally. So 100% agree with you on that point. And so I'm glad you made it, Hakeem, because I didn't have to make it. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Last point that I want to get to in this segment, and we're going to touch on this very, very briefly, and then we're going to take a break and move on to some other stuff. But I am 100% on record as saying that I don't like Michael Jordan. I don't like him as a basketball player. He's probably the best player who has ever played. He caused me so much pain in my youth as a Knicks fan that I don't like the guy. I don't like the guy as a sports guy. But I tell you what really kind of irks me. Him as a businessman, when he sees the carnage that his sneaker has wreaked on our youth and in some cases on our freaking adults in this country. I'm going to play a clip for y'all that's going to kind of blow your mind. And if it doesn't, then you're part of the problem. This clip needs to blow your mind. Take a listen to this. We're going to take a minute to talk about it, and then we're going to move on to some other stuff. Take a listen, y'all.
There is an increased police presence outside of the Franklin Park Mall this morning.
It's all centered around the release of some new Jordan shoes at Finish Line.
13 ABC's Mackenzie Keyline is live outside the mall to explain. Mackenzie?
Well, good morning to you both. Yeah, hundreds of people here this morning getting these brand new Jordan 11 shoes. They're a limited edition shoe that came out today, and they cost around $200. With me now is the new owner of these shoes. I have with me Paul Moses and his friends. We'll put those back there because I know they were a lot of waiting for these shoes. Tell us what was it like this morning being here compared to what it was like Wednesday?
Oh yeah, I got the real story. See, the police came with a better approach. It was more people friendly. See, last Wednesday, it was so crazy. I never seen people get shot with mace balls, getting shot 20 times or
50 times.
Or 50 times.
My buddy got his head shot off.
I sure did.
Now, when you say these police were better prepared, when we were here Wednesday, we had actually Tony Geftos was out here Wednesday, and he was showing us some of the video of the crowds of people waiting just for a chance to get these tickets that will give you a chance to the shoe. Now, you happen to get that ticket, and how was the police better prepared today with all these people that have that voucher in their hand?
Yeah, last time the police wasn't well prepared for how many people was gonna come out for these wonderful shoes right here.
It was total chaos. They didn't expect it to be total chaos.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
So what makes these shoes so special, though? Now that you have them, you finally have them. Why are they so important to you?
Let me tell you a little bit about these shoes. You see, you got the icy gum bottoms. Just lick them. Then these like a limited edition. These are never coming out again. And Michael Jordan know what he's doing.
And he's not lying.
All right, well, we're glad that you finally got these, and glad everything went smoothly today. You know what? They're nice shoes. So, of course, again, everything went smoothly out here this morning as these shoes were released. Of course, we'll bring you more throughout the morning. For now, reporting live, Mackenzie Keyline, 13 ABC Action News.
And you know how Steppin with Marcus J. G, I see your comment. I'm gonna read it here in just a minute, but let me get the crew back in on this one. The brother said Michael Jordan know what he doing, Diva.
Oh my God. Does anybody have aspirin? I mean, that just gave me an instant headache. That is the most ignorant interview I have ever seen. Like, I cannot understand, number one, why people, especially black folks, are so obsessed with Jordans, the limited edition, enough to lick them on the news.
On television.
And this white lady is interviewing you guys, and you're just so excited about, getting shot at. He said his hat was shot off, and one guy, his nose looked like it was broken or beat up.
Bandage on his
and
nose.
Y'all just happy as you could be to get these Jordans. I can't believe it. It just makes us look terrible.
Big Rule, what you think, man?
Confessions. I read it. I looked at the picture. I looked at the still picture, and I realized ignorance was about to ensue. I didn't even look at the video. I got to the studio. Marcus J's like, I'm not talking to you till you watch the video. And just like I said, ignorance ensued. First of all, if you have not seen the video, you need to see the video.
Yeah, listening to it doesn't really. Yeah.
You need to see the video. Oh man, like the top 10 most ignorant stuff that happened in that video, I can't even go over. However, I will give you a couple. One, it looks like Pimp Albert and the Cosby Kids. The dude who's talking is all, I guess he works out with a white tee, a chain, and a brown overcoat. Terrible. And then, really? Michael Jordan knows what he's doing?
Michael Jordan know what
Michael Jordan know what he's doing? Michael Jordan had no idea what's going on.
Michael Jordan know what he's doing.
Yo, and then here's the part. And what Marcus didn't even catch earlier as I was watching the ignorance.
I don't know if I caught a lot, but
okay.
I may not have said that, but I caught it.
As I'm watching the ignorance ensue on this iPad, then you got him talking, and then, like I said, you got the Cosby Kids co-signing in the background. Strong. He's like, like the bottom of these shoes. That's right. And I was like, whoa, who told you to say that? And literally, it looks like the way Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids were standing, with Fat Albert in the middle, old boy with the hood on the right side, on the left side. This is perfect. This is comedic genius at its best that they had no idea they were doing. Yeah. But it is pure ignorance if Jordan were to see this, and I hope he does, he need to cancel this shoot.
You know what? I'm not sure. Well, I am sure. Jackie says black people should support black business, period. Get your money, Jordan. I respect that opinion.
But that ain't Jordan business. That's Nike.
I disagree with it. And you're right. It is Nike. It ain't Jordan. But here's my thing with it, man. This is the perfect example for why people who are in these positions need to open up their mouth. Because I can't possibly believe that after having watched that Michael Jordan would be okay with it. Like I really have a hard time believing it, but he must be, because that is common. Like what you
Because he
just
don't care.
that right there is common, and you're right, he doesn't care. And I guess because of the way my mind works, I expect that that you should support those that supported you or that support you. And young people, not just young black people, because it's not just us. Young people are the reason why Jordans are what Jordans are. And so when you see that, you have to understand that there's something wrong. That's the first thing. And the second thing, why the hell do we care that much about a pair of freaking sneakers?
$200.
A pair of sneakers, man. These are kids. A lot of these kids got jacked up grades in school and don't know what to do about nothing, but they got the fresh kicks. That's what we used to call
And this
them.
is after they had to wait in line for a ticket to buy them.
You got to get a ticket to buy the shoe. You don't just walk in to get the shoe. It's so disturbing. It's so upsetting. And the comedy of it is one thing, and yeah, we can all kind of laugh about it, but it's really sad, man. It's really sad. This dude doesn't even realize that Michael Jordan has nothing to do with nothing.
Nothing.
He might come in at the end of the process and say, you know what, I do like that.
He don't even do that, man. He gets his direct deposit and keep moving.
Roll with it. And, and I'm reaching here. You don't know what he does. I don't know what he does, but
he's got to see that.
But we know sneakers cost less than $20 to make. We know they do. We know they do. And so to see that and to know the markup, it's just so sad that I don't even know what else to say. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Live from the Den, Legacy Internet Radio. Joy said listening to that gave her a headache. I did get a comment in a few minutes ago from G about the Cuba situation. I do want to get this comment in before we go to our first break of the night. She's saying her parents come from Cuba. They think that the families over there are suffering with barely enough to eat, and they think this move will make Cuba rich, with American developers investing in the Cubans who are not communists will have their situations become worse. She feels sad that after all the suffering that her family went through, all the people are worried about is rum and cigars. And that's coming from someone who has a direct link to the folks there in Cuba. Ain't I have step with Marcus J at this time. I want to introduce, joining us here in studio, my co-host. She is here. I got her. S.Y. Butler. What's up, baby?
Ho, ho, ho.
Ho to you, too. How you doing?
He's so bad.
How you doing?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing okay.
I'm
doing okay.
You got your sexy glasses on. You can't be doing okay.
I'm in peak grumpy mode today, but it is what it is.
Oh, I got something for that.
Oh, okay, cool.
Oh, yeah.
Will it intoxicate me?
I got the remedy.
Oh, okay, cool. So we're gonna take our first break of the night. So why don't you tease our next segment?
All right. This is especially for the men that are listening. I know y'all like this, so y'all get all riled up when I come up with these things. So, get your music head on.
Get your music head on. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Live from the Den. Legacy Internet Radio. I got Big Rube. I got the Dating Pool Diva. And I got the co-host, S.Y. Butler, just stepped in the room with her special guest who we'll possibly hear from later on before the end of the show. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Be back in a few minutes. Shout out to my brother. What up, Sid? Got something for you, my brother.